My name is Rachael Taylor. I'm playing the character of Amy in the movie. And Amy is a girl who, sort of like an early 20-something Sydney girl who, in a funny way, whose journey on a micro level is kind of very similar to that of Torik's character, who is the lead boy in the movie, who's played by Les Chantiri. And I guess his journey and Amy's is one about kind of trying to seek an acceptance into a world that they don't really feel a part of. And I think that they so desperately want to participate in, they find themselves in very different ways, of course, doing fairly kind of dark things to kind of feel a part of a world that they perceive as being elite or something. Amy perhaps is, has become very accustomed to the idea of the male gaze, by being surveyed by men. And at first she might think that Tarik satisfies that, and then she kind of reevaluates that and realises that he's quite different to anyone that she's met, and he's kind of eerily similar to her in a way. And I don't know, I see it as a really lovely journey, but ultimately obviously a very tragic one, and they kind of keep missing each other. What's really nice about this film, I think, is that you see little glimpses of them seeing each other. You see little just snippets of them kind of understanding each other and connecting, but then there's so much other stuff that gets in the way, whether it's race or whether it's, perceptions of each other or miscommunications or lies or deceit or drugs, there's all of these different variables that kind of get in the way of them really being who they want to be together, which would be a really nice version of the story, I guess. And I'd love to be able to explore kind of what Tarik and Amy would be like together if they didn't have all of these other kind of obstacles in the way. The rehearsal process was extremely thorough on this film because Serhat Caradee, the director, is very quite an intense person. I'm sure you've sat down with him, and he's very, very intense, and he's very talented, and he really loves actors, is my impression of Serhat, and he has his very own distinct rehearsal techniques, which I'm always very happy to go along with in terms of what a director wants, even though I might not always like some of them. And he has, different things. He really believes in building a character's backstory, and that's something that I really believe in too. So we certainly agreed on that position, which is, stuff like where Amy's from and how long she's lived in Sydney and why she moved to Sydney, and just coming up with different stuff like, I was absolutely convinced from the first time that I read this script that Amy is someone who has like an absent father figure, that she's a single mother kind of girl, and I had a very particular impression about where she was from and all of that stuff. So we fleshed that out and then worked very intensively on the scenes, which are their own little kind of complex things. And Serhat really wants to know what people want out of the scenes, but he likes things to be pulled back, and he doesn't like, subtext to be played harshly. Of course, actors should never do that, I suppose, but he's very, very thorough, and he's quite brutal in some ways. But I think that's the mark often of a very good director. Like when they're tough on you, or tough to work with in general, then that usually means that they stand for something very, very strongly.